Hi, everybody, and welcome. It's time for Gotham Baseball Live. I'm Mark Healy, and my co host, as he is with me each and every week, Peter Schwartz. How are you, Peter?
I'm doing great, Mark. How are you?
I am good. I am good. Fresh off my daughter, Jessica, graduated from Stony Brook yesterday. So it was a great day for the family and, great day for the Mets, great day for the Knicks, not so great for the Yankees, but
No.
with the Yankees, obviously tonight's a big night for you guys. Not only is Garrett Cole making his return, but also you guys are hosting the Rays in a very important weekend series at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, listen, the Yankees are definitely reeling. They've lost 9 out of 13. They really had a chance to get things turned around this week. They won the first two games against the Blue Jays. I was at the game on Tuesday night. Uh, um, and then the offense shut down, especially Judge. Judge had a horrible series. He was 1 for 15. So the fact that the Yankees actually won two of the four is kind of remarkable when Judge goes 1 for 15. And yeah, they'll get a lift tonight from Garrett Cole, but I also think even more so, Jose Caballero is expected to come off the injured list today, and that will lengthen the Yankees lineup a little bit. They're going to they've already sent Spencer Jones back down to AAA and kind of looked like he really wasn't ready for Major League pitching. He did have a couple of hits, but the Yankees are in a bad way right now. Now they can get it turned around. They can't erase 4.5 games over the weekend, but they can certainly get things going in the right direction against a really good Rays team. But this is a big point in the season for the Yankees. I mean, they had that great run, and now they've been struggling. But this is a weekend where they can get things turned around, and we'll see if the return of Cole and Caballero will get that moving in the right direction.
Well, they face Nick Martinez tonight, who's been great for the Rays. And, here's the thing, you know, why is it that certain teams that have good offensive players, did they just like as a lineup fall apart? We've seen it with the Mets all season, pretty much. I mean, they've started to hit a little bit since the beginning of May, but like yesterday, just to me, you see a team like the Nationals, and they've got nine guys that can hit. You see a team like the Rays. It's not a star-studded lineup by any stretch of the imagination. They don't have anybody like an Aaron Judge on their squad, and yet everybody hits and they win. And it's just, people want to say it's analytics, but, everybody's using analytics, right?
Yeah.
I get that. So why is it that some teams, are just so frustrating when they have good offensive players, and there's other teams where they just hit and they hit and they hit? It's crazy.
I, I don't know if it's an overused cliche, but hitting is contagious and pitching is contagious. And it just seems like when you get a couple of guys going, it wakes up the rest of the lineup. But when everybody is in this collective funk, it extends for quite a while. Now, does it take Aaron Judge to hit a 500-foot home run to get it going? Does it take Ryan McMahon to have a bases clearing double to get the team going? I mean, I can never explain what happened, but all of a sudden, this is a Yankee lineup that can all of a sudden explode and score 7 runs a game, 8 runs a game,
Right.
whatever it is. But they've also, and this is not just this year, but this goes back to last year and even the year before the year they went to the World Series. This is an offense that can go an extended period of time without doing much of anything. And that's really frustrating because look, to your point about teams that aren't star-studded, go back to go back to the 96 Yankees. I don't think the 96 Yankees were a star-studded lineup, and I think anybody who follows baseball would agree. But they had professional players. They had players who hit in the clutch. They had excellent pitching on that team. But for the most part, the lineup, yeah, you had some stars like Jeter and Tino and guys like that, but you had guys that were doing their job. To your point about the Rays, a few minutes ago. But for the Yankees, it's just and also little ball. I mean, how many times this year have the Yankees had bases loaded, nobody out, second and third, nobody out, or one out, and they don't get the run in from third base? It happened in the Met game, Met
Yes.
series. Yankees had bases loaded, nobody out, and they don't score. That might have been the difference in that game. So it's mind-boggling,
It
but
is.
it's just something that happens in baseball. And for the Yankees, it's been a problem the last 3 years.
And the other thing too is, here, look, and hear me out. Like, I'm not an analytics guy. All right. I'm just not.
Neither am I.
I mean, look, I know, look, to me, it's always been a tool, right? It's a tool. To me, the best approach for a team and an organization was Gene Michael with the 1996 Yankees. Obviously, by then he wasn't the GM anymore, but he was such an important part. Ask Brian Cashman, ask Bob Watson.
Mhm.
Rest in peace, Bob Watson. We can't
Yeah.
ask him, but he's been on the record saying, like Gene was so important to the way that we did things, and that approach. But it was a team approach, wasn't an individual
Mhm.
approach. And to me, it seems like that players today are based, like everything is based on that individual player's approach, that individual players, what's going to make them successful rather than what's going to make our team successful. And that's why, like, for me, when I see guys and they're struggling, especially with the Mets this year, and with the Yankees too, it's like they all struggle at the same time.
It's
But
amazing.
yet we know that it's not a team thing. Like they're not sitting as a team, as far as I know. I mean, maybe as far as I know, there are no team hitting meetings or team pitching meetings, or it's not about the team, it's about the individual player. And I think that is the influence that analytics is kind of messing with the they say they have a hitting philosophy. They'll talk about, well, we have an organizational philosophy, but at the end of the day, it's the individual players doing their individual things. And I think that is maybe why a team like Tampa, or a team like for just like the Braves, for instance, where
Right.
that organizational philosophy is not just talked about, but it's actually presented in a way where, okay, guys, as a team, this is what we want to accomplish.
Mhm.
But yet it's broken down into these little idiosyncrasies for every different player. And I mean, athletes they're not PhDs. Maybe they're PhDs of baseball, but the less, I mean, they just said that Bo Bichette was working with JD Martinez, and now all of a sudden, Bo Bichette is like hitting the way he's supposed to hit. And that's, yes, that's an individual thing. But sometimes you need more than that analytical approach. Sometimes you need a pro to say, hey, you're doing this, man. Stop doing that.
Right. Well,
How do you feel? I mean, do you feel like that could be the problem?
oh, yeah, I think that's part of it. I also think, look, you look at the Yankees and you talk about hitting philosophy, and I think the Yankees hitting philosophy, especially under Aaron Boone and the analytics version of the Yankees, has always been to take pitches and be patient and get the other team into their bullpen. And that works sometimes. I mean, again, analytics is a tool. It should not be the overall rule. I mean, you go back, like, could you imagine if Joe Torre was told to use analytics completely? Even Joe Girardi, it was always, everyone always joked about the binder that he had,
Right.
in the dugout, but he still had a gut feeling to everything. And I think that's what's part of it also. Look, I think the Yankees, to a man in that lineup, they're in a collective funk. And I don't know if it's a matter of having a hitting meeting. They had 3 hits last night. It's not like they left a small village on the base paths last night, which has been a problem in the past too. Last night they had 3 hits. I mean, you're not winning a baseball game,
No.
unless your pitcher is throwing a 2-hit shutout and you're lucky to scratch across a run. You're not winning a game with 3 hits. So it's a collective funk. I don't think analytics will get them out of it. I think again it will take one or two guys, whether it's Judge hitting a massive home run, Bellinger having a big night. So it's I think it has to come, to your point, from within, from the guys on the team. I mean, how many more team meetings and hitting philosophy meetings can you possibly have? It's a collective hitting funk. And the problem is it rears its ugly head every now and then, and it costs the Yankees games. And at the end of the day, at the end of the season, it's going to cost them the American League East. This Yankee team is a playoff team. There's no
Yes.
question about it. But this is a team that I thought at the beginning of the year was a team that was going to win the American League East. But you can't go into these week-long or 2-week-long hitting slumps and expect to stay in contention when the Rays are doing what the Rays do all the time.
And we've seen the Rays do this before, right? And
Mm-hmm.
even in years where maybe they're not leading the division, or even a over 500 team, they give the Yankees, It's like the Mets are playing the Marlins, this weekend. It's the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's like that one team that no matter what the records are, as long as there's a stake there, if the Marlins have a shot of like ruining the Mets season, we've seen it 1,000 times,
Yeah.
right? So look, it's Memorial Day weekend. I thought that if the Mets were going to be done, we would have known this by now. I don't think they're done.
No.
I certainly think that the Yankees, look, let's see. Even if the Yankees get swept this weekend, they might be done for the division. But again, is Tampa, is what Tampa's doing sustainable? Given their, economic reality, like if they're going to have to make moves at the deadline, look, the season is so long, and look, like you're right. I mean, the Yankees have a great shot now to make a statement in that division by, and again, Garrett Cole. I mean, how big is it for you to have him back in the rotation?
Well, I think it's huge. And I think the biggest thing is by Cole coming back, somebody's going to come out of that rotation, and it's going to lengthen the bullpen. And the bullpen, to me, aside from the hitting, the Yankee bullpen has been atrocious this year. Just absolutely god awful. They got to find a closer because you get into a playoff series, I can't stomach watching David Bednar come out of the bullpen to try and close a game. But I think by bringing Cole back, it's going to help out because at some point, I guess Will Warren will come out of the rotation. You can throw him into the bullpen. It lengthens it. I think they're going to have to go out and find a closer. Rodon is a couple of starts back. He looks like he's still getting back into the swing of things. And Max Fried's going to come back here at some point. So when you have that full arsenal of starters, the guys who have been filling in the rotation can slide into a long relief. Elmer Rodriguez came up, and I thought he was okay. He might be a guy that might be better off in the bullpen to help the Yankees, the rest of the season because he's got electric stuff, but maybe he helps out. Maybe he's the guy that you can bring in, in the 6th or 7th inning and keep things at bay until you get to your closer. So I think Cole will give him a lift tonight. I think from watching a lot of his, rehab highlights and stuff like that, his stuff is there. We'll see. But again, I even look again to Caballero's return tonight as being just as important because it helps the Yankees lineup out.
Yeah, and just to get back to the bullpen for a second, I think analytics is another one of the reasons why. Again, people say, "Oh, you're just an old guy, and you don't like math." Well, you're right. I don't like math, and to me, I shouldn't have to have a physics degree to kind of determine or figure out how my bullpen works. I've said this a million times. Pitchers are better when they know what their role is. Mm-hmm. And when you have analytics, no one knows what their role is. They might know that they're available to pitch that day, but they don't know if they're pitching in the 7th inning, the 8th inning, and the 9th inning. It's all matchups. I think it's crazy. But without further ado, we have a great guest for you today. He was very patient with us and really made some time with us. And I think you're very aware of this guy from Baseball Night in New York. The great Sal Licata is with us. Let me get him admitted to the Zoom room. And there he is. Sal, are you ready? Hey, there he is wearing the Knicks jersey from Baseball in New York, Sal Licata.
What's up, guys? How are you guys?
Hey, Sal, I missed you. I missed you at 3:45.
What's going on, Peter? How are things, man?
Things are really good. It's good to see you and to hear you. We go back a long time and we've worked together so many times. It was always great doing updates on your shows at the Fan, and I know you're doing a bunch of different things right now, the SNY stuff and your own podcast. But we wanted to get started talking about the Yankees, and both teams have a huge weekend. But for the Yankees, this is a really big weekend for them. They have been struggling so bad. And if they get the Rays into the Bronx this weekend, maybe a chance to turn things around. What's your thumbnail sketch on what the Yankees have been so far this season?
Yeah, I think the Yanks are lucky that the Knicks are on such a run because otherwise people be pasting them this morning. I thought it was a bad series split against Toronto.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They played poorly. They played poorly for like the 10 games before that. They should have taken at least 2 out of 3 from the Mets. They didn't. The one thing to get shut down by you, Savage. Another thing to get bullpen to get shut out. So Yankees got to be better. Now, look, they've taken on some injuries. I understand that. I'm still not going nuts about this team, but I thought we were going to see something, especially against this series in Toronto, that was going to show the difference from where we were last year, a role reversal. The Yankees proved that last year was the fluke. We didn't. The Blue Jays haven't been good, and yet the Yankees haven't proved that they could separate themselves from Toronto, at least head-to-head. And now, to your point, Peter, the Rays come in. They've been the best team in the American League East all year long. I know Garrett Cole is back. That should be good. But the way the Rays play baseball versus the way the Yankees have been playing baseball, I don't know if that bodes well for the Yanks. I think this is an important early season series here. You know the old adage, once you get to Memorial Day, you start taking things seriously. Well, it's Memorial Day weekend. It's a big series for the Yankees. They're disappointed against the Mets, and now the Blue Jays. They've got to take 2 out of 3 from Tampa Bay here.
And just to follow up on that, Sal, Mark and I were just talking about the Yankee hitting woes, and I think it'll get straightened out. They should get Caballero back tonight. I think that's the expectation in addition to Cole tonight. But to me, the biggest Yankee problem is that bullpen. David Bednar stinks as the closer. It just there's 2 guys in that bullpen, Hill and Hedrick, that are somewhat reliable. That's got to be the big thing that Brian Cashman looks at over the next few weeks, and maybe the return of Cole and Rodon, and maybe down the road Clark Schmidt helps lengthen the Yankee bullpen because some of the guys who are in the rotation now will slide in. But to me, that's been the Yankees' biggest problem, not the struggling offense, because they think that'll get on track. But to me, the Yankees' bullpen is their biggest problem.
I don't know if I would say that it's the biggest problem because I think it's the easiest thing to fix. I also don't think that the struggling offense is a big problem. I think the offense in general, the structure of the offense and the structure of the team, can they do, because you're right, Peter, the offense is going to mash people, right? Rice, Judge, Bellinger, Stanton comes back, even the bottom of the order. They will mash the majority of their opponents in the regular season. Will they be able to do that in the postseason? Does that brand of baseball work in the postseason, especially against a team like the Rays, the way that they play their brand of baseball? Yeah, I'd have concerns about the bullpen. I don't think it's as good as it's supposed to be. I think Bednar can be a useful piece. I don't think he's a good closer. I thought that before the year. He's not a championship level closer. So they need to upgrade the bullpen, but I feel like they will, whether it's going into the minors, whether it's adding at the trade deadline, maybe a little bit of both. Brian Cashman has always shown the ability to go out there and at least be aggressive in trying to upgrade the bullpen. They did it a year ago. All these guys now, Doval, Bednar, they're all additions from a year ago. So
yeah, but they all stink.
Right, they weren't as good as they were supposed to be. They're all right, but clearly they need to be better. I just don't know if I would say that it's something that needs to be fixed to go win a World Series. I don't know if I would think that that's the biggest Yankees issue. Whereas you look at their lineup, if Judge doesn't hit, are they going to be able to win? Are they going to be able to win in the postseason with Ben Rice, with Giancarlo Stanton, with Aaron Judge, with the way that those guys have had sometimes drop-offs in the postseason from where they've been so dominant in the regular season?
Sal, switching over to the Mets, obviously, gritty win yesterday, 2-1. Peterson, pitched, better than I think most of us thought he would. But interesting that Tobias Myers is going to take the mound tonight in the opener against the Marlins. The Marlins, who are the stone in the shoe of every Met fan, since time memoriams, or at least since the Marlins came into the league. What do you think of that decision to go with Tobias Myers without an opener, and basically, they canceled Jonah Tong's AAA start the other day, and not having him make the start? I mean, what does that tell you?
I think that they're desperate here. So starting Peterson yesterday, okay, great, and he was terrific. So that's a win for them. What are they supposed to do? Would I ever want to start David Peterson after the way that the year started? No. Would I want to start Tobias Myers, a guy who's supposed to be in the bullpen? No. Would I want to start Kodai Senga? No. Would I want to have to go in the minor leagues as often as the Mets have had to so far this year? No. But they have no choice. They've been ravaged by injury. Even before the season got started, Sean Manaea was moved to the bullpen because his dip in velocity. So they're taking on water. They're trying to survive. I wouldn't look too much into it. Jonah Tong might still be in play, at least last I heard, might be in play to start a game in Miami. Maybe they're just giving their guys, the guys who were healthy here, extra rest during the 16 in a row stretch here. To me, it's survive and advance for the Mets right now. There's no way I could look at them and say, well, you need to start winning series and gain ground. I think that would be great. I don't think that could realistically be the expectation when you look around the roster. They are dying right now for legitimate big leaguers to contribute to this team, which is why it's so important that the guys like Soto and Bichette and the back end of the bullpen, those guys do their jobs because they are here, they are healthy, they have to carry the load here. Peralta, McLean, those guys in the rotation, they're going to have to do it because look at everywhere else. Myers will be okay, I hope, but the Mets are depleted. I don't know what you want to do. Who do you want to start? That's it. They have no other options.
No, you're right, and it's too early to go shopping because the prices are going to be exorbitant. If even if anybody's open for business, which I don't think they are, and look, the Mets have enough problems. I've been criticized for even bringing this up, but when I want to get your take on this, it's one of the things that I've been asking pretty much everybody connected to the Mets who talks about the Mets or works around the team. Why do you think that number 8 was issued to Morabito? And, I don't think it was a mistake. I think they did it on purpose. I don't think they had any clue as to how people were going to react. Howie Rose came right out and said, bad job. What do you think about Gary Carter having his number retired? And if they're going to, do you think they should retire it, or do you think they should just issue it, or is there something in between that you have a?
There is no in between. There is, because they were doing the in between, and
right.
Clearly that didn't work. I don't know who came up with the idea to give it to Morabito. Maybe he asked for it. Maybe nobody really was like, yeah, okay, well, you want number 8? Here you go. It was obviously a silly thing, but to me, either retire the number or use it. Think of how many people wore 18, 17, 16. After Darryl Strawberry, Dwight Gooden, and Keith Hernandez. So, what's the big deal? What, Gary? Nobody could ever wear number 8? I mean, give me a break. They haven't retired. They've been sitting on it for 25 years. So we're going to flip out with it? Now, me personally, once you start retiring Keith, Doc, and Darryl, the one obvious omission there is Gary Carter. He was my first favorite player as a kid. I loved him. We all know how integral he was to the 86 team. So before the retirement of Keith and then Doc and Darryl, I think it was a more realistic. They're not going to retire his number. Look at his history with the Mets. Yeah, he won the World Series. Gary Carter was not an all-time great Met. In our memories, it was because we loved him as a kid, because he led them to a World Series, the final piece, whatever you want to say. But in reality, was he an all-time great Met? No, he was not. So I can understand why they wouldn't want to retire his number. But after you do Keith, Doc, Darryl, there's one clear omission. And if you're not going to retire the number, then just put it in play. And clearly that didn't work because they tried to put it in play, maybe without even giving it much thought. And then the backlash, now I think, Mark, that's going to lead them to retire the number. And then that's it. We put a bow on the 86 team and the number retirement, and everybody can be happy and the fans can be happy. I see number 8. I think of Gary Carter. I know that the Met fans think of that. I also don't think it's a big deal. It hasn't been worn in so long.
Right.
And it hasn't been retired. What do you... make a decision. Either put it back in play or retire it. I think they probably tipped their hand on what they were going to do, and now they're going to have to reverse that because of the public backlash.
The big
they've
deal.
Also, I'm sorry, Mark, but besides Morabito, Desi Relaford wore it in 2001, and a coach, Matt Galante, wore it in 2002. So there was those 2 years where they issued it, then they went a long time without it. And to me, and again, I'm not a Mets fan, but my wife is, and her favorite player was Gary Carter also. So I do have an invested interest in this. If you're going to keep it basically under wraps for all these years, to your point, make a decision. Like if you're going to, Steve Cohen has made a conscious effort to reconnect the history of the Mets to their fans. And even though he was only a Met for 5 years, he meant so much to them. So, yeah, to your point, make a decision. Say, yes, we're going to retire the number. But if you're not going to retire the number, then, maybe you honor the next great catcher. Maybe there's another catcher coming up in the system. If you want to save number 8 for that guy. Maybe that's the way to do it. But at some point here, you can make this controversy go away by just making a decision.
Well, I think that their decision, Peter, which turned out to be a foolish one, trying to sneak one by. I think that their decision was that they're not going to retire it, and let's just get it back in play. The problem is that after if somebody wore it 5 years ago, it wouldn't be a huge deal. People would still be saying they should retire number 8, but the fact that it hasn't been worn in so long, and then it goes out there after you retire Keith, Doc, and Darryl, it was just a perfect storm of Met fans were not going to let them get away with that. But I think the Mets were not planning on retiring Gary Carter's number, and now I would bet, and I don't know this, I'm just guessing, if you're going to pull it off of them that quick and react to the public backlash, I think that Gary Carter's family is going to have their day where they retire the number 8 probably next year.
Well, look, like I said, I was hoping that it was going to be one of those surprise things at the 1986 40th anniversary later this year.
Maybe it will be now. You don't know, Mark. Maybe it will be.
But here's the thing. What you said is, and what Peter said, it's not that so much that they issued, because I think Gary would be cool with it if he was still with us. He would just be like Dave Gallagher posted the other day. He said, when I wore number 8, in 94, when I went up to the plate and the guy behind the plate said, just wear it proud. And he didn't realize it was Gary Carter behind the plate for the Expos. And it was Jesse Orozco later that told him, yeah, that was his number. That's why I told you that. So, you know what I'm saying? So, Gary would be like, look, if you're going to give my number away, fine. But, give it to a kid and I'll tell him how to play hard. Like, that's the kind of guy Gary was. So, for me, it's the big deal. Yes, I want his number retired. Yes, I've been saying that for 15 years. The big deal is how they did it. And it was kind of like a slick, sneaky kind of dopey move that to me is the thing that really kind of drove me a little bananas when it first happened. But that being said, I'm beating a dead horse, obviously. But one last thing for me, Sal, and thank you so much for making time. I know Friday's kind of your day off, and you're
not really. I'm working like a lunatic here, but no, I appreciate you guys asking me. So we found some time for you. Yeah. I gotta go do baseball night in New York. I just finished taping my podcast. But no, go ahead, Mark.
Let's do an hour on the Falcons. Anyway, one last thing for me, buddy, and that is, look, the division's over. There's no way to me that the Mets are getting back into the race for the NL East, and that's fine. Do you think today, Memorial Day weekend, that the Mets are going to be competitive and be in the mix for that last wild card or even the second wild card when September comes?
Unfortunately, I think it depends way too much on health. And I'm never one who would make excuses, but I mean, you have to be realistic here. They've taken blow after blow after blow. The top 4 guys that were designed to be in that lineup together have not done it at all, basically, this year. Soto goes down. He comes back. Lindor goes down. Polanco's been down the whole time. Bichette's finally starting to hit just now. So a part of me, though, because they have turned it around and got back into being competitive here, a part of me believes that Mendy will have them playing competitive baseball the majority of the season. I just don't. You can't keep having, well, Tobias Myers is going to start. Well, Braziman's going to start. Well, Peterson's going to start. At some point, they got to get healthy here, whether that is Minter coming back in the bullpen, helping out there, whether that is getting Lindor back, Polanco back, Senga even. Maybe they could get something from Senga. Ultimately, I don't think this is a good baseball team, but it hasn't been the baseball team it was designed to be. There's still plenty of time, as evidenced by what they've done. They're now 5 games under 500? That's nothing. June 3rd of 2024, they were 11 games under 500. So plenty of time. Excuse me, plenty of time to get themselves back in the wild card race. For me, it was about winning the World Series. To me, that's not even realistic at this point. It's more of salvage the season, compete, maybe you make the playoffs. That's where we're at. And I still would not give up definitively on that, although they got a long way to go and they have to get healthy if that's going to be a realistic chance.
Right.
Sal, one last thing for me. Knicks in 4 or Knicks in 5?
I'm hoping, Peter, it's Knicks in 5. I have tickets for Game 5. So I'd love to see my wife and I and my friends, another couple, we're supposed to go to the game. If there is one, we're trying to make plans. And I keep telling my wife, I don't know yet because there might not be a Game 5. Let's see how this thing plays out. I still think it will be 5, though. I'd be surprised if the Cavs weren't able to figure out a way to get one of the next two at home, but I would be even more surprised if the Knicks didn't wrap it up in 5 games. I'd be more surprised if the Knicks lost both than I would be if they swept. So I think, to me, it's clear it's either going to be a sweep for the Knicks or, at worst case, in Game 5, and I wouldn't mind that because I'd be on hand to see it.
I just want you to behave if you celebrate out in front of the Garden like that. Those celebrations have been getting kind of rowdy out there.
I can assure you, you will not be seeing me there. I will go. I'll be in the stadium going nuts. I go right under the tunnel, get to the train, and get the hell out of there as soon as I can. I want no part of those.
Sal will have the Secret Service surrounding him so he can get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I want no part of that. I'll be following Johnny Franco down the stairs to that one train.
Exactly.
Sal,
the menace.
Sal, thanks so much for spending some time. It's great to see you and talk to you again, and hopefully we get to work together again somewhere down the road.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you guys having me. Good luck.
And best of luck with the podcast.
Thank you.
It's going great, and we certainly love it. And anything that we can do to help, down the road, and hopefully you can come back on with us. Hopefully the Mets get better. Hopefully hopefully we have a Knicks championship to celebrate. But it was great to see you, pal.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Take care.
And that, of course, is the great Sal Licata. You can watch him on SNY's Baseball Night in New York, as well as his new podcast, Sal Licata Show, on YouTube. Subscribe today. I thought a lot of what Sal said was, spot on, Peter. I mean, as far as what either team needs to work on to get moving this weekend. It's a big weekend, no matter how you slice it.
Well, it's a big weekend for the Mets. It's a big weekend for the Yankees. I mean, this is, a huge weekend for two teams. To your point before Sal came on, and you said as much as the Rays have been a nemesis to the Yankees, the Marlins have been a nemesis to the Mets. I don't know what it is about the state of Florida, although I would never live there. I have family that lives there, but it's not really a place I'd ever want to go. But for some reason, they always seem to be a pain in the neck. Even hockey, the Islanders can't beat the Lightning in the playoffs. But it's a huge weekend. I think even though the Mets have a little bit more climbing out of a hole to do, I think it's a bigger weekend for the Yankees to get back on track and make a statement that they are going to be a legit playoff contender. I think that's the bigger weekend for them against a team like the Rays.
Well, yeah, it's because it's completely different. The assignment is different. The assignment for the Yankees is take 2 out of 3, get back into the division race. Start to get healthy, start to get Garrett Cole back. There's the assignment's different. The Mets are, every single game matters.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a team like that where every single game matters, you have to take one game at a time. You can't. I don't like when the team stinks, right? And they stink. You look at their record. You are what they. Your record is what you set. What that's whatever. I'm like completely bumbling the Bill Parcells quote.
But you know are what
saying.
You are.
Exactly. And so to me, it's just every game. I just look at the game, win the game, lose the game. What's the next game? Like, to me, that's how I am generally, because baseball is such a long season. But, to me, the biggest problem the Yankees might have this weekend is getting these games in.
Yeah.
Because the weather looks, nice today, but the weather's supposed to be terrible this weekend and Memorial Day, which stinks, for us here in Rockaway. But, that's got to be something they have to deal with too, Peter.
Yeah, no question about it. It's not like teams come in 3 times anymore, or you're not playing all these different series. I mean, the Rays, they can probably make up next time the Rays come in. But yeah, hopefully they can get the games in through the raindrops and get through the weekend. And it's a big week for both teams. Hopefully they can have a great week. Now, next Friday, before I get on an airplane next Friday night to go to Albuquerque, New Mexico for an indoor football league game, we will have a show next Friday. And the expectation is that, let me get this in front so it doesn't disappear. Roger McDowell has a new book out called High Foot. We do expect to have him on Gotham Baseball next Friday.
Can't wait. Looking forward to it. Peter, you and the family have a great Memorial Day weekend. And we will see you here next week on Gotham Baseball Live.
You got it.